Post-harvest losses have been estimated at about 40%, and one of the ways to mitigate these is by promoting short market supply chains.
When you think about research, and what has been shown is that almost 40% of food that is harvested never gets to the market due to the post-harvest losses. And this has been made worse, because of the many challenges we have in Kenya. Especially, we have very poor road networks. We don't have good logistic chains that support farmers to be able to get their food to markets. So, for example, let me give a quick example. I actually have some organic farmers, say, for example, in Migori. And what they have done is that instead of having to struggle to get their vegetables all the way to Nairobi overnight, chances are the vegetables, by the time they get to Nairobi, they're not going to be in very good quality. They're going to be, withered, and I won't be able to sell it very well. I tell them, you can send me a bit of your produce, but also, why don't you just sell this wonderful organic produce in your local markets? And they've actually started doing it. And you'd find that their local communities actually appreciating it. And you'll find like if one of their neighbors know that they're growing their sukuma wiki or spinach in an organic way, they will always be sending their children, enda kwa mama nani, go to that farmer, go buy their sukuma wiki, because I know that their sukuma wiki is free of pesticide residue. Something I'm very passionate about is short food supply chains. And what this basically means is that the distance between the farm and the consumer should be the shortest distance possible. So we want to be able to make sure that the good food that we are growing here on our farms is actually accessible to our fellow Kenyans. So this is just to make sure that, that organic food and safe food is not just for a chosen few. Organic and safe food is actually a fundamental human right when you think about the SDGs and, like the different goals that we need to be attaining in the SDGs to make sure that everyone has access to nutritious and healthy food. And because Kenya is such a beautiful and diverse country, you find that different foods do well in different areas of the country. We have farmers all the way from Mombasa who supply us with coconuts and mangoes and cashew nuts and, like different produce on that other side. We also have farmers, from Western Kenya who may have something different, like bananas and all. Central Kenya have good tea and all. But then you want to make sure that all these farmers are able to actually feed their own people, to make sure that this food is not having to travel thousands and thousands of miles away to get a market, but that we are able to encourage the local market to access this good food.
In organic farming, one of the aspects is integration of livestock farming and crop production. The two complement each other as the byproduct of each system becomes the input of others. Animal excretes from livestock offer nutrients to the farms, where the farm residues provide feeds for the livestock.
Livestock integration is very important in organic farming because animals actually help to increase the biodiversity, and they also help to give you a nice biocircular economy, so to speak. What does that mean? Basically, we are trying to get a closed system on the farm, whereby the animals work very well together with the plants, because animals will give us the manure that is needed to help the plants grow, and the plants also end up becoming food for the animals and for us human beings also. So when you have livestock integration, you find that running the farm is actually easier, and then you're also able to reduce on the inputs that you use on the farm. Because like for us, the animals waste that we normally use, of course we use it as manure, but I also use the animal waste to mix into the compost. And compost is just basically using all the waste of the farm, mixing it with the animal manure, letting it cook, for a couple of weeks, and then reintroducing back the compost into the soil so that we can be able to have good and healthy soils that are able to sustain our crops through the season.
Manures are plant and animal waste that are used as sources of plant nutrients. Manures are the organic materials derived from the animal, human and plant residues, which contain plant nutrients in complex organic forms. Manures replenishes the soils, enabling the soils to nourish the plants.
One of the major problems we have, if not the most prevalent problem we have with farmers in Kenya, is we don't have good soils anymore. Our soils are not able to give us a good harvest, and many farmers have resorted to using a lot of synthetic inputs just so that they can be able to get a harvest. And one of the ways in which you can be able to rejuvenate your soil is to compost. Just take the waste from the soil, from the farm, pick all the waste from the farm, mix it up with your manure from the animals, and let it just rot slowly, because compost has got a lot of benefits to the soil. We have about 15 to 20 compost heaps that we have all around the farm that help us. Every time we are planting, we always incorporate compost into the soil. I agree that it's very tedious, it's a lot of hard work and you have to wait. But the question is, do you want to leave good soil for your children to be able to still farm on your farm, or do you want to just be a one-time season farmer? If you want to farm for many years to come and get good produce from the hard work that you put into the farm, then I would encourage all farmers to incorporate composting in their farming practices.
Pollination is needed for plants to reproduce, and so many plants depend on bees or other insects as pollinators. For this reason, Sylvia has established an apiary on her farm, which besides giving her honey, the bees have facilitated a bountiful garden.
A major part of livestock that we have also kept on the farm is having an apiary. So we're also doing beekeeping, and the bees have been wonderful friends of ours here on the farm, because they're really helping us to pollinate. And we planted, just a small example, we planted some beans right next to the apiary, and the beans have done exceptionally well because the bees really did a lot of pollination for us. And to also make sure that the bees are actually happy on the farm, we also have planted for the bees a lot of flowers. And some people come to the farm and ask me, why you have flowers in between your food? And I tell them it's for the bees, but also flowers also make the farm very beautiful. And apart from the bees, flowers also help to attract other pollinators that are very beneficial on an organic farm. I know this is something that many farmers don't know, but when you have flowers on the farm, you don't only attract bees, but you also attract other pollinators like wasps. And guess what? Wasps love eating aphids. You get some different kinds of wasps that eat aphids. So when the wasps come, they actually eat the aphids for you. And it has really worked. When I do rows of flowers in my farm, I actually have any aphid infestation because the pollinators came for the flowers and they got a wide diet. Bees have been very beneficial on our farm. They have actually helped, of course, with the pollination of the different crops that we have here. And just to make sure that they are happy here, we've also planted a lot of flowers for them so that they can be able to get their pollen here. I also would encourage small-scale farmers to actually seriously think about having an apiary on their farm so that they can be able to make an extra income through the honey that they are going to be harvesting, as well as making good use of the beneficial insects that help to increase production on the farm. Safe food is a fundamental human right. And many times when you think about organic food or organic agriculture, you find that most of these products are normally sold at a very high premium, which means that your normal mwananchi is actually not able to access it. One of the ways that we are doing it is to make sure that we grow local food that is seasonal. When you grow local food that is seasonal, you actually don't struggle to grow it very much. Because, for example, let me give an example of our African indigenous vegetables. Some of them are actually quite drought resistant and do very well with very little water. So those are the kind of crops that we are trying to promote and to make sure that we grow them in large quantities. So by the time they get to the market, the cost of production was high, then consequently we are able to sell them at a very affordable way. Also, growing your food seasonally will actually reduce your cost on production. If you visit many of the organic markets, especially around Nairobi or in different towns in Kenya, you'll find that the prices are actually not too high, because many organic farmers are actually well aware that they need to be able to make this produce affordable. So when you think about the pricing, it's actually very close to the conventional prices, which is actually a way of trying to tell the consumers, you know, choose organic, choose to eat safe food.
So many people are getting into farming as an agribusiness option. So do you think organic farming is really sustainable? Is it commercially viable to go organic when your focus is on the returns that you get?
You know, organic is not that lucrative. It's difficult. It's a long journey. As I shared, I've done it for almost 10 years. And for us, even just to be able to get returns from our farm, it takes almost 5 years. And 5 years sounds a very long time for any farmer to wait to actually start seeing a good return for their hard-earned efforts. But the thing about it is, when you grow your food organically, it's a very sustainable way of farming, because my children, God willing, in the next 5, 15, 20 years, will still be able to come put a seed in this soil, and the seed is going to give them a bountiful harvest. My encouragement is to the farmers listening to me today. When you do your farming, don't just think about the money you're going to get at the end of the season, but think about your children, think about your great-grandchildren. What inheritance are you leaving for them on the farm?
Irrigation is the process of applying water to the crops artificially to fulfill their water requirements. Nutrients may also be provided to the crops through irrigation. Farmers can decide on the best irrigation system that is best suitable for their farms. Rainwater harvesting is the collection and storage of rainwater for reuse on site rather than allowing it to run off. It's been said in Kenya that the water problem is actually the storage problem. Sylvia has invented different methods of harvesting rainwater for use in her farm.
One major challenge we have with farming in Kenya is that majority of the farmers are dependent on rain-fed agriculture, which is not very sustainable. And what happens is, you know, they're not able to get a good return depending on how the rainy season was. But one aspect that is very important in agroecology is to make sure that you make good use of water harvesting like we have done here. So we have a dam that is able to collect rainwater and help us to be able to see us through the difficult season, especially this year where we had very dismal rains. We've been able to collect rainwater and use it on the farm so that we can have consistent produce all year round. Okay, right here you can see that we've planted a lot of onions. Onions do very well in semi-arid areas, as you can see. And because it can get very hot, we are using an overhead sprinkler, which is a water gun. It works very well because it's able to water a very wide area. It normally gets very hot and sometimes the plants go through a lot of stress. So to reduce on the stress as we are watering, we use overhead irrigation. But just a note to farmers that sometimes if you use too much of the overhead or if you don't watch the watering, you're also prone to get a lot of fungal attacks on your crops because then they become too damp. Then when you combine the dampness sometimes and the heat, your crops will get fungal attacks.
So what you're doing here at the farm is very, very incredible. I mean, there is so much to learn. If people want to come and learn, how can they get in touch with you?
You can be able to get us on Facebook at Sylvia's Basket, Instagram at Sylvia's Basket. You can even follow me on Twitter, Kuria_Sylvia. Or you can be able to get us on our website, www.sylviasbasket.co.ke. And from there you can be able to call us and we can be able to arrange for farm visits where you can come and learn more about organic and how to grow food sustainably.
So thank you so much for staying with us. That's where we end our show today. And I believe that you've learned quite a lot on how biodiversity and agroecology are key elements in organic farming. Until next time, it's bye-bye from us.